Great times, and in this programme a great player, someone who, although he spent less than 3 years in Bristol, is remembered with unique affection by the fans. And just one little clue to his identity, the banner that became a catchphrase throughout British soccer. And if that doesn't remind you, then perhaps this will. Hunter, and what a goal! Well, what a tremendous goal by Norman Hunter! Now that picture, that face brings back a few happy memories in the West. What are your vibrations coming back to Bristol today?
I love coming back here. I spent just over 3 years here. On the social side of it, I made some nice friends, some nice people. And as far as the football was concerned, I left Leeds, who had a decent record, a good record, and coming to Bristol. But the minute I came here, the atmosphere was sound, great set of lads. Socially, we mixed together and we went out. And on the football side, at Ashton Gate itself, we could beat most sides. Our problem was, I used to think, was away from home, where we didn't have the confidence to go and beat teams, and we lost too many away from home, and that is why we ended up in relegation so many times.
Yeah, you were with Bristol City, what was it, nearly 3 years, during their best days in the First Division, Norman. What did you and your family think of the place?
Well, I think spending so long at Leeds, it was difficult to pick my family up and bring them down here. They found it difficult at first, but I fitted in right away. Like I said, the set of lads down here, they were totally different to the Leeds lads, totally and utterly different. But the fun and the laugh and the humour that we had in this dressing room was absolutely marvellous.
Great. Of course, you came here towards the end of your playing career, the autumn, so to speak. But it had all begun for you 14 years earlier, hadn't it? And this picture, Norman, of you at just 17 years of age, the date way back in 1962, when you began a 14-year stint, 700 matches for Leeds United, the club that Don Revie transformed from an ordinary second division side to become one of the most celebrated club sides of all time. Bremner, Lorimer, Charlton, Johnny Giles, and of course Terry Cooper, your old pal now at Bristol City in the front row there. A lineup to bring tears to your eyes. What a side they were.
And Hunter, who usually plays a very defensive role, coming up quite a lot in the attack in these opening minutes.
Is it a green off? He might do.
No Grady. Jack Charlton. Bremner.
Oh, beautiful goal! What a superlative goal by Bremner!
Johnny Giles.
West Ham defenders surging around him, but he finds now Peter Lorimer inside for Johnny Giles. And Hunter coming up fast to drive it. Oh, and what a goal! What a goal by Norman Hunter!
Hey, you got some good goals, didn't you?
You did well to get that one, Roger, I tell you.
Norman, how did Don Revie assemble so many good young players all at the same time in 1962? I remember going up there and visiting him then. He worked very hard, didn't he?
Oh, his organisation and his man management was his biggest quality. Now I'm in management myself now. That was his best quality. He knew each individual, he knew how to handle them, and he knew how to get the best of you.
But Norman, how did he get them all? Such a crop.
Well, it was his buy-in first. He went out and he bought a little fella called Bobby Collins. He had all these youngsters, and they were nearly fighting against relegation to go into the third.
Yeah.
Bought little Bobby. He came along, did a marvellous job. And then us kids came on together, and I had Big Jack there at the back.
Yes.
We had Bobby in midfield, and he bought a lad called Alan Peacock up front. So the balance was right. They had the three experienced players down the middle of the park, balanced by all us kids.
Yes, the shape was right, wasn't it? And you really tasted soccer success with Leeds, did you not? Look at that record. First Division champions, league runners-up 3 times, FA Cup winners, League Cup winners, UEFA Cup winners twice. The sort of thing that most people only dream about became a regular sort of occurrence for you. Well, now here's something that should bring back a good few memories. Leeds versus Arsenal in the FA Cup final back in 1972, the centenary year.
Kennedy. hoping for the right bounce of the ball and in fact finding Peter Simpson. A great game in defence, and now he's got to find something in attack. But it's Giles to Hunter, really my man of the match. And now Jones away. McClintock coming across. Barnett at the near post. Still Mick Jones. And down goes Barnett, and Jones really hadn't got the snap to go by him. And Madeley to take it up now for Leeds United. A fiercely competitive match and nothing between the two sides. Jones now for Leeds. And McNabb only half stopping him. Jones getting it across. And Clark going in. And Alan Clark has put Leeds ahead. Johnny Giles and Paul Reilly. And Paul Madeley. And that magnificent defender, Norman Hunter.
Also known for that magnificent phrase, Norman bites your legs. How did that start?
Well, I remember ITV, before we got to that cup final, they'd run a competition on these banners, you know, the best banner.
Yes.
And then we got there, and this one was up there, Norman bites your legs at the Leeds end. And it stuck with me ever since. Wherever I've gone now, I'm remembered. That's what people always say to me. How did you get it? I said, well, Norman bites your legs and it's there. I've got that for life now, I think.
Mind you, you could tackle, and so could a lot of players in that team. I mean, you were a hard team.
Well, we were a hard team, but if you ask a lot of the Leeds players, what slightly annoys them is that we were never noted for the skill that was in the side. The players like Johnny Giles and Billy Bremner and Eddie Gray, these are world-class players who could have held their own in any league, any team you care to mention. But we had this image of being a hard team. Mind you, we deserved it at times. You know, we could look after ourselves, and we had a physical side to us. I mean, we were also a great side.
Yeah, I heard, Norman, you know, during those days that when Billy Bremner was a young player, he was brought back in the afternoons to be shown how to tackle. You know, I mean, that Don really concentrated on that.
No, not really. No, that is something that's probably a story that's built up. What he used to do, we used to come back ourselves and get the ball out and play. But we had this competitive edge in us. If you meet Billy now, if you play Billy at any sports, or Johnny Giles, or any of the old team, they've still got that edge about them, and you never ever lose that. And it was a great side and a great set of lads. That was the most amazing thing about them. All the lads, socially and everything, got on well together.
And you were the hardest of them all?
So they say, but I couldn't basically play any other way. If I tried to play football in, say, a testimonial match or a friendly, I wasn't any good. I liked the hustle and bustle of the league programme.
You like to bite people's legs, Norman?
Well, I didn't like that stuck with me, but I enjoyed the tackle. I enjoyed the competition.
Well, why not, sir? It's a man's game. And during those 14 years at Leeds, your 3 years here at Bristol City, and during all the games you played for England, few people ever took really offence at what you did, because the Norman Hunter robust school of defensive techniques was loved by the crowd. The bite a bit there.
I don't know where you got some of them from. There could have been a few red cards.
Could almost hear Don Revie playing the hunting horn on the touchline there.
Well, I think when we were kids, and they used to say the first time anybody gets a ball, let them know you're there. And that stuck with me ever since.
Well, now, you let them know wherever you played, including 28 times for England. How important was that phase of your career, playing for your country?
Well, when I started the game and started Leeds, I never thought I'd get picked for England. I think Don Revie put a side together with some good players, blended them into a good side and made good players into the nationals, and I was one of them. I went along, I played for England 28 times, and I went with them for about 10 or 12 years. I was delighted to get 28. People say that Bobby Moore kept me out, but in many ways, Bobby Moore was a far superior player to me.
Ah, well, you were both great players, and it was bad luck that you were at the same time in the same position, Norman.
Well, it was different types of players. I had a level in the league programme that was a consistent level that
Yes.
was probably better than Bobby's.
Yes.
But at international level, he was an absolutely great player.
Yes.
I watched him, and I marvelled at him. The better the occasion,
Yes.
the better he played.
Yes, indeed, including Mexico, where you would watch him in that
Mexico,
marvellous game against Brazil.
66.
And 1970. I know you even actually, you used to stop a lot of people scoring, Norman, but you also scored. How about this for a rare bit of archive material? As I say, you were employed to stop people, but how did you feel about scoring occasionally?
Well, I love to score. I only got about 25 goals in my whole career, and I can remember each one of them. Because I didn't score that many. I think I scored as many at Bristol in the time I was there. I think I scored 5 or 6
Yeah.
at Bristol,
Yeah,
which was more than I used to get on a regular basis with Leeds.
yeah. How did you feel when you got near the box as an attacker?
Well, I didn't like getting there. I didn't like a good striker. I'll get there, and if the keeper comes, he'll chip it over the keeper, or he'll side-footed past him. I used to just blast it,
Yeah.
because the sight of that 18 yards box, I used to get the shakes, and I just used to have
You
a
were
blast.
too far from where you should
I
be.
was too far from it, and I wasn't quick enough to get back, Roger.
Anyway, Norman, you had your fair share of disappointments, one way or another, as well as the great times. For England, you came on as substitute in that extraordinary game in Mexico against West Germany in 1970, when England lost after being 2 goals up. In fact, we'll be talking to Terry Cooper, your old teammate, in a few weeks' time about that game. But I think it was perhaps another international which will always be in your mind for disappointments, a nightmare which brought a flood of sympathy. Can you guess which game?
Yep, Poland.
Wembley.
Poland at Wembley, qualifying for the World Cup.
Yeah.
Curry! Far post. Tony Curry. Was Peters. Gorgon got in the way. Fell. And he cannons away. He kicks it off the line. Good ball. Peters. Hunter. Right foot.
Now, Norman, this is the moment, isn't it? Out there, you're the man you'd bet on to make that tackle. We all thought you would. Somehow he gets away, and, well, so he gets away, but other people will save you, won't they? Won't they?
No.
Won't they? Shilton will save you, won't he? He stops these all the time, look. There he is, standing up in position. Whoops. It's gone underneath him, Norman. What, you know, and that, you know, we all felt for you. You know, you knew. People came up, didn't they? But you knew.
Pat on the back from Harold Shepherdson.
There's Harold Shepherdson.
You did your best.
Bobby Moore comes over, but you're inconsolable, Norman.
With his contribution to this game tonight.
Well, I've relived that many, many occasions. I should have put that in the royal box. But what I tried to do, because we needed to
Keep the ball in play.
keep the ball and get a goal,
Yeah.
I tried, which I should have gone with my left foot, which I normally don't, but I tried to get it with my right, and I was going to lift it over him
Yeah.
and try and keep it in play. But you look back, you make mistakes, and if I was to do that again, I'd have put that ball in the royal box.
Yeah. Do you have nightmares about it?
Not really, no, because you go to play football and you don't step on the park to make mistakes. I tell the players that. If they make mistakes and they're trying to do the right thing, then you can't do anything about it. As a defender, I should have known better there. I should have done what I naturally do and just got that ball out of play, because from that, when it went under my foot, I kept running back, and he went at Roy McFarlane. I kept thinking, come on, Mac, get a foot in, and it went across the goal, and I was saying, come on, Schultz, save it.
Yeah.
And when it went in, I wish that ground could have opened up and swallowed me.
Yeah. That's how it goes, Norman. As you say, you don't go on the park to make mistakes, but occasionally we all make them. Then after those 14 years at Leeds United, on the eve of your 33rd birthday, Norman, back in 1976, you came to join Bristol City. Norman Hunter was immediately hailed as a hero at Ashton Gate. City was struggling in their first season in Division 1. They'd lost 7 matches in a row. But instead of a hard-faced hatchet man we'd heard about, Hunter turned out to be a good old-fashioned nice guy. Alan Dix, the city manager, overjoyed when Norman agreed to come to Bristol. Norman was tough in the tackle, but he also brought an immense steadying influence to the city side. He also put on a few thousand spectators at the gate. Everyone wanted to see the man who was famous and could really do it. Yeah, what were your feelings on coming to Bristol at that time? Did you think you were going into the hick country?
No. I'd had one or two offers to go other places, but I said to Sue, I said, I'll go to the manager that deals with me the straightest, and that was Alan Dix at the time. And when
you say straight, what do you mean, Norman?
Well, he put his cards on the table. He told me what was expected of me. I had to do this and I had to do that, and I respected the man for that.
What did he want you to do?
Well, he wanted me to, as far as the financial side, he sorted that out. That was no messing about. And then on the playing side, they'd gone, as you said, about 7 or 8 games, and he wanted me to get in there, and he wanted me to steady them down, and he wanted me to talk to them. And at the time, you wonder whether you've made the right decision. But looking back on it now, for me as an individual, it was the right decision. I thoroughly enjoyed myself, because I went from Leeds, where I was a defender and I had to win it and give it, and all of a sudden there was more expected of me.
Yes.
And I enjoyed that.
Well, we certainly enjoyed you coming, and you did a great deal of good. And for the fans, these were the great days of West Country soccer. Days to really remember and savour.
Merrick, Hunter. Lovely ball out of defence there by Hunter under pressure. Made the space for himself. Highway, switching from wing to wing. That's for Ray Kennedy. He gets it. Dalglish and Rogers in there. Dalglish, and it's beautifully cut out by Hunter. That was vital for Bristol. And again, and he sends man away, and the crowd love it. That's a good ball. Royal. Well, that was a good header there by Joe Royal. And that's an own goal. Norman Hunter's ball fast into the box. And Jeff Nolte, the Newcastle captain, an own goal. That's for Latchford. Calm play by Rogers. Hunter finding Ritchie with a super pass. That's for Mabbott. Lovely ball to Royal. And it's now shot comes in. That's for Yora. Now Beck. That's a good shot. Brilliantly blocked by Hunter. Barrett. Not going to part with it till he wants to. That's Woodcock. Hunter winning it. Sweeney. To Hunter. Good play by Sweeney and Hunter there. Sweeney on the ball. Man behind. Also Hunter. Plenty of variations for Bristol. It's for Hunter. And it's a lovely goal. Extremely well taken by Norman Hunter. Brings him his third goal of the season. Rogers is close. Sweeney's trying to get back. Dalglish is in the middle. And it's beautifully cut out by Hunter. Marvellous example of all the long international experience of Norman Hunter. Read the move right. Pounced at the right moment. Now, can they make more of this corner kick? They're trying to vary their approach. Hunter knocking it in. In goes Mabbott. Oh, a brilliant effort there by young Mabbott. Hunter's over on the left, but not getting it. Gow has it. Painter. Indirect free kick against Dave Thomas. Hunter, and what a goal! Well, what a tremendous goal by Norman Hunter. Nathan just touched it, and that rocket really took Wood by surprise. A tremendous example of how to use a free kick to maximum use.
Good days, weren't they?
Yeah, I enjoyed them.
You didn't, there wasn't hardly a flicker on your face watching. What were you thinking when you saw those old days?
Well, where the goals are concerned, I know they're coming. As I've said, I've not scored that many. But looking at the players, and like I said before, we were a good side.
You were a good
We were
side.
a good side down here. And all we had to do was to believe that we could get better. But we, as I said, away from home, the problem was that we went out and we didn't believe we could beat them. We knew we'd beat them at our place because our record down there was as good as anybody, and we scored a lot of goals.
But the good players in that side, who do you remember as, really good players?
Well, it's funny enough, I rated the lad very highly. Not many did, but I thought Jerry Sweeney was a very, very good player.
Jerry Sweeney, yeah?
I did. I thought there was a lot of them. The lad Gary Collier, when I come, looked a good player. Jeff Merrick, unfortunately, Jeff and myself were fighting for the same spot, but that's football. There was, we had Big Joe up front, Peter Cormack came, Trevor Tainton did a good job. Another good player I thought was Tom Ritchie.
Yeah. The transformation was remarkable. I remember you coming and you did the job. Norman, did you do it by example through the week, or did you talk to them much?
Well, it's difficult to say how you'd do it yourself. I've played football in a certain style, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I enjoyed every minute of it. I still do. If I can get out with a tracksuit on and boots on, leave the office work, that can be left to the secretary. I still love to get out and play football, and I loved it then, and I just like to play football, and probably a bit of that rubbed off.
From the time you joined Bristol City in October 1976 until you left in 1979, in fact, this is your last game for City, it had been a love affair with the City fans. Some of them still talk of you as a possible future manager of Bristol. At that time, City was safely in 12th position in the First Division before their disastrous crash down to Division 4. You left to join Barnsley, shades of Skinner Normanton and Michael Parkinson, and now you're manager of Rotherham and still in the 3rd Division. Well, I know things haven't always gone quite as well as you would have hoped back in the north. Norman, I want to take you back now to when you were leaving Bristol City. You were being groomed at the time to be player coach and then move on to be manager when Alan Dix would in turn be moved upstairs to director, which he wanted to do in the fullness of time. Do you ever regret you left at that time?
Not really, no. I went to Barnsley and thoroughly enjoyed it. I had 3.5 years there, but unfortunately things turned a bit wrong and they got rid of me. Then I've gone to Rotherham. I think you've got to go through the mill. As it turns out, it was a good decision basically because of the situation Bristol was in. You know, the financial crisis they hit later on and everything else. But I have no regrets, none whatsoever. I've still a lot to do as a manager. I've got a lot to do. I want to try and manage a club in the First Division. I want to take it to cup finals. I want to do what every other manager's done. I've nothing to come back for as a player. I thoroughly enjoyed that. But as a manager, I've still a bit to do.
What's the hard part as a manager?
Hardest part for me to this day is telling a 17, 18-year-old lad that he's not good enough. I think that no matter how long you've been in a game, and I've been in a long time, when you've got a young kid sat in front of you whose hopes are to be exactly what I was as a player, and then you've got to tell him, I'm sorry son, you're no good. That is the hardest part, because all the other bit in the boardroom and administration side of it, you've got to get used to that. That's all part and parcel.
Norman, when one looks at the whole country and looks at Bristol, a big city, it should have a First Division club, shouldn't it? Yes,
it should. There's no reason at all, because when I was down here, we got good crowds. We must have averaged between 25, 28,000. And like I've said before, I don't see there's any reason why we can't have 2 First Division sides down here, because the area can take it.
What holds the West Country back? It just had those few years. Why don't we have more of it?
Well, I don't know. The thing that I found is that I don't think that basically you're steeped in football. I don't think it's an area where there's a lot of tradition in football. You're more into rugby and you're more into cricket and things like that. But like I said, I've thoroughly enjoyed my time here, and there's no reason at all why, if somebody can get the club rolling, like Alan Dix did, get them into the First Division, because I had a great relationship with the fans down here, and they turned up and they watched us on a regular basis. And if we can educate them and get them to enjoy the football, then why not have a First Division club down here?
Thanks very much indeed, Norman. Let's hope that City can. Good luck to you in your managerial career. And thank you indeed, Norman, for travelling west once more to share some of those moments that for 20 years gave pleasure not only to us, but to fans everywhere. Good to see you again.